Dear Marjan, we are live. The floor is yours.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, fellows and department heads, and welcome to session of the Woman Ascension OML Mentorship Series under WACAS. It is wonderful to have all of you here, ready to take the next step from awareness to action in sustainability. I am Marjan Majizada, head of WACAS, and I have the privilege of moderating today's discussion. Today, we explore a simple truth. Sustainability is not only a concept we advocate, it's a lifestyle we embody. Our session is designed to help us reflect on our personal and community habits, identify practical changes, and develop a structured action plan that strengthens our impact as climate leaders. This will be an interactive and practical session. Your insight, experiences, and ideas are the key ingredients for shaping meaningful change. Let us use this time to change ourselves, be honest about our habits, and commit to actionable steps that align with the WACS mission. I would like to introduce Woman Ascension, a platform that empowers women to bring change. Woman Ascension is a global movement funded by Dr. Mahin. It is built on a simple belief: when women are empowered, they can change communities, industries, and the future. Active in 134 countries with 10 departments, include STEM, climate action, peace building, media, and policy. It provides a platform for women to learn, lead, and support one another. And also, a 1 million leadership program 2030 to empower 1 million women and youth leaders by 2030 with the skills, confidence, and values needed to lead with compassion, resilience, and impact, elegant with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and focused on creating positive, lasting change worldwide. And also about the Climate Action Sustainable Development Department. Climate Action and Sustainability, WACS, is a department of Women Ascension focused on protecting the planet and promoting sustainable living. It runs projects in different countries on climate education, environmental awareness, green solutions, and community action. WACAS empowers women and youth to take the lead in creating simple, practical solutions for a more sustainable future. The department collaborates with local communities, educators, researchers, and policymakers to promote climate responsibility and long-term environmental impact. Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce our speaker, Mr. Eksa, Communications and Vice President of Communications and Marketing, and passionate passionate climate advocate. And also, Mr. Eksa has spent years working on ways to help people and organizations live more sustainably. He believes that protecting the environment is not just about occasional actions, but about making small, constant choices in our daily lives. His work shows us how simple changes like reducing waste, conserving energy, or supporting green also can make a big difference for our planet. As a leader and communicator, Mr. Exa inspires others to think about the impact of their choices and encourages practical steps we can all take toward a healthier green future. And also, his remind us that sustainability is possible for everyone. Everyone can take a step, and also it starts with understanding how our action fit into a bigger picture. We are honored to have him here today. Mr. Exo, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ajan, for the wonderful introduction, and really privileged to be a part of the work that Women Ascension is doing. It's really an incredible job that goes beyond personal benefit. It's a global and planetary benefit, and I really want to appreciate you and commend you for the continuous engagement you have kept on. And now with the 1 million leadership target you're setting up for 2030, it's really a wonderful step you're taking in there. I just from what I get, this session is basically meant to be a dialogue. It's meant to be a reflective session, and so I really didn't take a lot of time to make too much of slides and prepare a lot of material for discussion, because I believe this should be a practical session where we are able to reflect with more honesty and genuineness and have shared experiences coming out. Maybe just to put a few things about my Jan has already done an incredible job in trying to help you know who I am. Sorry, I am not able to turn on my camera. Really sorry for today, but at least I hope that the photo in there is able to give you confirmation that you're not speaking to a robot, but you are speaking to a human. And I am still a final year student at Gulu University, and I have been passionately dealing with climate change from the year 2023 when I first joined university, when I got to understand climate change and SDGs in a much more deeper context. So I know that within this space, there are those who are actually more experienced, those who have been in this space longer than I have been, and there could also be those who have been here probably less years or months than I have been here. But altogether, the most important thing is what contribution are we making towards what we really know about. So I am just going to be sharing about our contribution and how we are able to integrate this kind of knowledge we know of, all the climate jargons, the science, the policies, and all the the volumes of knowledge you've known about climate change and SDGs and the 2030 targets, and how we can practically contribute in the smallest ways. And again, as Majan said, having the small constant on and on. So this is basically focused and it's a focused and reflective dialogue. And the key things are basically the sustainable lifestyles and also the ethics, the impact and sustainability. So if someone asked me about a lifestyle, ideally a lifestyle is sort of, it's a pattern of everyday choices that shape how we live and what impact we leave on the world. You do not need to explain to me your lifestyle. I basically have an observation of how you live it out, and then I am able to say this is your lifestyle. As an educator today, you're going to find me using a lot more of questions and more of rhetorical questions to help us maybe get this sync better for each of us. So it's not what we really say we value, but it's what our daily habits reveal. That's what essentially a lifestyle would be. It could include, what we consume, how we travel. Some people are extravagant, how we use energy, how we, handle waste, even in our homes, what we buy and support with our money, the habits we normalize in our homes and communities. So a sustainable lifestyle, therefore, means making sort of daily choices that reduce harm to the environment and protect resources for future generations. So this kind of responsibility lifestyle is not supposed to be thrown back to, say, the governments, the intergovernmental panels, and international organizations that are making the big decisions at the end of the day. But we have a contribution just within the kind of lifestyle we have. Small things like energy citizenship. Do we even care about the energy consumption in our homes? I think there are people who leave their bulbs on even when they really don't use them. What happens if you check through the whole cycle? When you waste such resources as small as energy in your home, you end up contributing to the large energy demand. And what happens? Because to offset that large energy demand, we have to probably go out and continue exploiting, the fossil fuels and all of these things. So in one way or another, you end up being a contributor to the very thing you profess to be advocating, and probably being a strong advocate of, activist for that sake. So I think if we are able to ask things like, is ideally that sustainability is not only a policy discussion, it should be a pattern of a daily behavior. And here we're talking about climate leaders. In really terms and sense of leadership, it is the ability to influence, people and their decisions. But in this case, you need to have that influence expressed through example, responsibility, and accountability. Leadership should not necessarily be a position of primarily say a position or title, but it should be the ability to shape the attitudes, behaviors, and the decisions of others. And so when such a program is run by Women Ascension to equip the young people in climate leadership, it is to say that they should be able to, first of all, change their lifestyle. So that lifestyle, it's first of all at a personal level of leadership, that is self-leadership. By having a lived kind of example, other people can, they can be able to picture your lifestyle. They can be able to see lived examples and how conscious you daily live, even within your family. I mean, we have the children we live, you interact today, your workplace, the people interact today. We get into different spaces. Today, they may be a child in that school you're probably teaching, or they could be that employee in your organization. But another day, they could be in a big decision-making board. And so how we influence their decisions from the time we do meet them is really, really very impactful in the long run. So they gain the sustainability mindset, right? So if I have probably a lot of waste in my home, how do I dispose of the plastics? You're responsible enough to say, okay, right now, say in Uganda, we have taka plastics. So how can I ensure that these plastics reach out to them and they do recycle them, instead of having them just dumped and, they spoil the soil, and at the end of the day, they contribute to the climate crisis. So true leadership shows up in, integrity in decision making. And again, why I'm talking about integrity, because we're talking about a climate leadership. We are talking about decision making. We are talking about stewarding resources that are being given to us. And so I'm really serious when I think I interact with concepts like integrity, because at the end of the day, we are going to have projects to implement, really projects that can be able to mitigate the climate crisis. And so if we don't have the integrity to handle that, I think we might most likely find ourselves writing reports of what has not transpired on the ground. So responsibility toward people and the planet, and the courage to act consistently with the values we've now decided to hold, and modeling the change we ideally ask others to make. So a climate leader, in essence, should not only speak about sustainability, but you embody that in your everyday life. I think that's the most powerful kind of a leadership. It's by example. In ethics, it's to have the moral principles that guide our actions and decisions, especially when no one is watching you. I mean, these are concepts of leadership, but they are ideally very fundamental to the cause we have in climate action. Because where I come from and why I'm looking at this in a very, very critical lens is that right now we have a lot of startups, we have a lot of organizations, we have a lot of youths. They have already been equipped with the knowledge, right? They are already probably, let me use the word passionate. Maybe even passionate is not the right word to use for that case, because sometimes people come in the space because they have seen something to gain. It's not bad. We need, we have the green jobs coming up because of the whole climate engagement and as means of mitigating it. But ethics are very, very important here. People apply for grants, and when they get the grants, do they use the grants for what they really applied for, or they simply go on and call up a few kind of awareness sessions? And yeah, I mean, awareness is not enough to actualize the kind of a climate action we want. So integrity becomes key, that we are able to really, really have principled kind of action and decision making, even when no one is at our watch. So I think to ask, are we honest in the way we use the resources? Are we accountable for the impact of our projects? It could be your independent private project. In that case, you feel you aren't obligated to anyone except your probably mentality to, the capitalistic mentality you have. But I think, yeah, this comes back to us to ensure that for every single project we hold, are we really accountable for that impact? And are we acting for really change or recognition? Because right now people are chasing awards and best climate activist award and awards all over. Probably a lot of people are interested in getting that recognition. But I think if we to sink deep and say, well, this is not a fight for recognition. It's about really making impact in, say, your community within your means, not necessarily to say you need to get to the biggest, probably decision-making body. We know countries that have probably the best climate scientists. They understand the complexity and the simplicity of the climate discussion, the science and everything. But what happens? The policies are just on paper. The countries aren't implementing them. So it starts right off, because again, we don't know who will be in that position of authority. So having that kind of ethical, really, really consideration and being able to act principally to what we profess is very, very important. So ethics remind us of the credibility of climate action. It really depends on, on good, on not just on good intentions, but on really moral responsibility. So sustainability without ethics becomes branding. That's what I see. It's branding all over. Ethics without action, it's just like an empty conviction. So when we get on and talk about climate responsibility, climate responsibility, recognizing that our actions today affect the environmental conditions of tomorrow, and it then requires us to move from awareness to really a sense of responsibility. That understanding that this involves the environmental impact of our lifestyles, reducing harmful practices where really possible, and supporting systems and policies that protect the environment. So even in the smallest spaces we could be in, I could cite myself especially as maybe as an educator, getting into to the school environment. How can I practically be able to actualize these things I speak about? How do I shift the minds of the children under my guidance at that time, to see that they are able to really be part of this. It could be as small as teaching them things like waste management, helping them to develop these kind of projects, but most importantly to ensure that they have the ethics and the ability to actualize what they are actually speaking about. And so bringing this all together, lifestyle, determines our daily behavior. Ethics guide the principles behind those behaviors, and leadership influences others through our example. And climate responsibility gives purpose to all these three. So I think when these four align, climate action, becomes more authentic, it becomes credible and sustainable. So what I would have to say is that real climate leadership begins when our lifestyle, our ethics, and responsibility move in the same direction, even when nobody is seeing, that we should be able to recognize that we are moving in the same direction. I just want to share a bit now of my questions, my inspirations, and the aha moments I have had, leadership and the impact, and also my disappointment. Some of them may be a little bit of what I said earlier on, but I'll pay an emphasis to that. So at Guli University, I joined as, of course, as an undergraduate student, and we formed a club, Student Energy at Gulu University. Initially, as students, we didn't know much about climate action. But then we got into a number of trainings here and there. Organizations were there to do a bit of capacity building. But then we realized, ideally, these kind of engagements, you go and probably you are given some little bit of refund and allowance for. It's not sufficient to move what we are talking about. So what can we do as an extra mile to really run a project that will be able to bring this to life? So we decided to contribute some money amongst ourselves. So the executive members, we contributed money, and then we decided to pioneer briquettes production training. So we pioneered, and we were able to call participants, university students, and we financed that project. So we equipped them with a skill of briquettes making. That was responding to a particular challenge in northern Uganda over charcoal production, when the president had banned charcoal production. So the 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 people didn't have an alternative to that, so we were able to at least bring that up. And then after we applied for grants, we were able to get some grants, and then we were able to continue with this kind of training. So I think the bottom line is that everybody can do something within their kind of space. We don't have to keep pointing, fingers and blaming who is, a lot of climate negotiations. They are necessary indeed, but it shouldn't, curtail us from being able to make our small independent changes and really being true to what we profess out there. And of course, basically, we've been able to reach out to a number. We've been able to train over 50 students, and we are having another training coming up again. And yeah, some of the things I'm really disappointed in collectively is to say that I know there are quite a number of organizations one of these days that really it's a brand, and there is not work on the ground, there is no progress. So that's my biggest disappointment, that young people are getting the space, really zealous, ambitious, but yeah, they need to have the heart to really transform and do something different. Let me just dive in some of these questions, just the rhetorical questions, and I hope that you'll be able to probably digest them, just as I am also trying to digest them as I bring this to a close of my sharing. So some of the questions, just for reflective for the fellows and say, okay, we talk about climate leadership and personal alignment. Do we truly live the value we advocate for in climate action? If someone observed our daily habits, would they see climate leadership in practice? Our lifestyles aligned with the environmental future we are advocating for? Do we practice sustainability even when no one is watching? And you know what habits in my daily life contradict the climate values I speak about? There I leave a little bit of a reflection statement, and I hope that it is helping us to reflect a bit on that. And when it comes to integrity in climate action, climate funding, may be limited, but are we faithful with the little that is entrusted to us? When organizations receive grants, are they always used for the purpose they were intended? Are we building lasting impact, or we are simply running activities? And if greater climate funding, became available today, are we structurally and ethically prepared to manage it responsibly? Now, are we building movements for impact or reputations for visibility? I will then move to almost last present part of the presentation. Our individual responsibility in climate change. Have we made climate change everyone's problem so that it becomes no one's responsibility? And to what extent have we personalized the climate crisis in our lives? And do we speak about global systems while ignoring our own consumption patterns? What personal responsibility am I willing to take today for a more sustainable future? Systems can change, but the limitations of the change of the systems is really dependent on how the people in the system change. A man who cannot control his personal finances cannot be able to manage the finances of, say, an organization, of, say, a country, because discipline, as we always know, as a factor of, say, success, it is the same thing that comes in here. Do we discipline ourselves to really give in what we profess to be giving? And just the final reflection. What is one habit I must change to align my lifestyle with climate responsibility? And what leadership commitment will I make today for a more sustainable future? And how will I ensure my advocacy and my lifestyle reflect the same values? With this, ladies and gentlemen, I am really happy that we're able to have a little bit of reflection coming from my end, and I deeply appreciate your time. Thank you, and probably if there are any questions from the audience, I would be glad to share my perspective too, and also most importantly, listen from your lived experiences. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aksa. If anyone have any question, please can you write in chat, Zoom, or you can just unmute yourself to ask your question. Yes, Negela. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. You can ask your question.
Okay, I am called Ngala, not Negela. It's Ngala.
Oh,
Hi,
okay.
everyone.
Sorry for the mispronunciation.
So, thank you for the presentation, sir. When I listen to rhetorical questions, like you said, but they were more reflective. And then one of them caught me when you gave the example that if we are preaching things about climate change and all of those things, taking care of our environment, and the little things we cannot do, then we are not helping. So you gave the example of energy consumption in the house. I felt guilty because I'm one of those people that would leave the house without turning off my electricity. I come back in the evening sometimes, it's the same thing. And the children actually have copied. I'm struggling to see how all of us can stop that habit, but it's not easy. So it caught me, and I just want to say thank you for the reminder. I'm going to be more careful. I didn't know things like that also meant a lot. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Gala. Happy to hear that, yeah, the small things matter to your end too. Are you from Nigeria? You're speaking like someone from Nigeria.
No, I'm a Cameroonian, kindly. I'm a Cameroonian.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone have any question or you want to share anything? If you have any question or you want to share anything, you can write in chat, Zoom, or you can just unmute yourself.
Can
Yes.
I go ahead?
Yes, sure.
Thank you
Yes,
so
sure,
much.
please.
I just want to thank the presenter for the excellent presentation. And I think he really echoed on what really we should do as sustainable leaders. And I think I wrote in one of the comments that ethics without actions are empty. And with the movement of trying to turn climate knowledge into action, I think it is highly recommended at this time, whatever mantra we have for sustainable tourism or climate change, from my side in tourism industry, but in general, climate change, action is what matters, no matter the region, no matter the country, and with whatever resources that we have, what we do behind the doors after we amplify or advocate for anything is important. Thank you so much. That is from me.
Thank you so much, Rupa. It was really great. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, just to appreciate again, Rupa. Thank you so much. That is profoundly, really, important in this fight against, climate change. And so I was just trying to give think of an analogy to this, because at the end of the day, we are talking about, okay, climate change. We are talking about the planet. We want to save Mother Nature. And I was trying to think of this analogy that, well, we are all children of one mother. And then since probably the old woman is sick, badly off, and maybe, okay, she has a cancer at the early stages. And we, as the children, we are all aware that she has got cancer. But, we begin to sit for a meeting. How do we help our mother come out of this maybe early cancer before it becomes a chronic cancer? And yeah, we start the race. Let's distribute these responsibilities equally. Everyone who is a child of this mom should be able to contribute something. And then along the way, you realize that probably your brother or sister is not maybe financially able to do it, or they just don't feel like helping her out. Does that give you a moral justification to leave supporting your mother out of that situation? Do you stop helping her just because your brothers and sisters are not in position to help her come out of, yet that's where you stem from? I think if someone says that is a moral justification for them not continuing to help their own mother, it only tells me that they have not yet understood enough the value of their mother. And I think they also don't understand who she is in there. They don't really get her place in their life. If only someone gets that place of their mother in their life, that is ideal enough for them to stand in, whether anyone comes on board or not. But that analogy I try to think of is very, very inadequate in comparison to the planet we are talking about. Today, you can live without your mom. Yes, you are probably grown up. You can take care of your own life. But Mother Nature, when Mother Nature ends, all of us end. There is no one who can continue without Mother Nature. So it should be a more personal thing, and we could individualize it much more better. Sure, thank you.
Okay, we have few questions in chat soon. I'll just wanna read. Tahminajan asks, many people are aware of sustainability but don't act. Why do you think this gap exists?
I think why the gap of, say, theory, practical knowledge, and action does exist. I think first of all it comes from it has some bit of a cascading effect coming from those who did transfer to them the knowledge, because this is how it looks like in the education setup. If the teacher delivers the curriculum without the emphasis of the practical, the learner goes out as a theoretical kind of learner, very clever indeed, but they don't have the lens and the need for practicality. This is why I will in a way fault, a lot of partners who are in this business of climate action. I mean, they are doing a lot of maybe sensitizations, but do we afford to have people have the feeling and the need to actually do something? Because if we don't integrate that in our kind of sensitization and awareness, then people will also take it at that surface. So I think if we are able to first of all deliver the knowledge at a theoretical and practical level, then probably people are able to do something. Resources and money is not all it takes. So I think the habits can be more inculcated by the institutions, by the organizations that go on and try to share the climate awareness. Yeah, I think that's basically what I would say.
Okay, there is another question. What are simple, sustainable habits people can practice at home every day?
Sustainable habits that people can practice at home every day. The first one is to talk of energy citizenship. Yes, that bulb there, in as much as it uses small watts, it has a compounding effect. By the end of 1 week, you've reached a certain amount of watts. And by the end of this period, you are in a way still contributing to the misuse of energy. We generate waste in our homes. And so how do you manage that waste? If it is plastic, are you able to, render it to those probably industries and the collection points that are able to recycle it? If it comes to the trees, if there are people these days who use methods, especially for us in northern Uganda here, there are those who use bush burning as a method of land clearing. Burning a hectare of grass it's a bit an equivalent of driving a car for about 40 miles. So you can imagine you are complaining about the one who's using the fossil fuel for the car, yet you are also contributing by burning your land just because you think it is cheaper than plowing with the ox or getting some tractor to work on it. So I think the nitty-gritties are actually available. They are practical things, much more than I try to illustrate, that we can do. And we could have even this kind of sensitization that we are focusing on the little things people can do, other than, the big, ambitious kind of projects that many are not able to contribute to.
Thank you so much. Rupa, you raised your hand. Do you have any question?
Yes, I have a question, and
Yes, please.
it's mostly on one of the things that we always hear about, let's say on carbon trading. Is that real, and is it something that communities can do on a small scale? Because it feels like when it's talked about, it's more like governments or big companies. I'm thinking if you want to encourage people, they want to always have a benefit. So what are your thoughts on that? Is it something that can be done on the ground level, on community levels?
Well, when it comes to the carbon trade market, I must confess that it is still a little bit of a complex kind of a thing, because it depends from country to country. The country must have at least a carbon trade sort of a policy, a working kind of policy that enables different companies to be able to track, because if, say, a farmer has planted some sort of a yard of trees, they can only benefit when they have been registered, and the sort of the returns on that kind of investment, they keep compounding, but in the first place they are a bit low. So for a small scale, in low income, communities, as you said, if they seek for an immediate benefit from the carbon trade market, it may be a little bit discouraging. It may be a little bit discouraging for them, but it has to be on a long term kind of, because it will be paid for a long period of time. So I think it depends from country to country, but we can continue because it's still be under development, and I know over time, probably by 2030, it would have become a much more solid kind of aspect of climate change, and it will be felt more in the local communities. So we could still continue to encourage people to do that, but reasonably enough, the benefit comes over a long period of time as opposed to a short period, and also the large scale would be more beneficial, because the amount per tree is a little bit small if you want to get an immediate benefit. Yeah, that's what I know as of now.
Thank you. My question was more like coming up from the first question that was written on the chat that says, what can people benefit from it? Because what I've seen is people don't want, when you're advocating for climate action, their question is, what's in it for us besides the funding? If you tell us to act responsibly in this manner, what's in it for us? Those are some of the responses that we get from people. Besides them trading plastic, if there's a way that we could motivate people into climate action or into being climate responsible, because sometimes they say this has not been our fault. So if you're urging or encouraging us to take action, what is it for us? That's why I was thinking, does carbon trading, or what is it that they can benefit that is tangible? Because people usually want to be motivated, sadly, but they want to be motivated.
Yeah, that's really true. There is need for an incentive to exist such that
Did by
people
somebody.
are
Thank you.
actually okay. All right. I hope I got you well. Indeed, there is need for an incentive to exist for people to act much more hastily, much more responsibly, with much more intentionality because they think they can benefit something. That's important. But there are a couple of opportunities that it's a problem, but as well it is an opportunity. So I think if when we are selling out the problem, when we are selling out the idea of climate change, we should be able to demonstrate that the two sides of the coin. That well, we have this problem. You think you haven't contributed, but you will still have a share of the suffering. So what do you think is better? Is it to stay back and say I haven't contributed anything, so I have no responsibility, yet you're going to suffer for it? So why don't we collectively become responsible so that we can reduce this kind of a problem? So I think we can have a greater kind of problems framing so people understand that indeed it affects them. They shouldn't wait to be victims. But on the other hand, there is an opportunity that exists for them. Talk about the green jobs. I think it's the easier thing to have people understand how the green jobs are, and even the real projects they can have, a lot of renewable energy projects that they are able to have hands-on and also be able to benefit from it. So if that is done, yeah, I think we can have a good number of people coming and being motivated and yeah, seeing some sort of incentive to participate in climate action.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Philemon. I think that's it from me. Thank you so much for answering that.
Right, thank you. I'm glad it helps in a way.
Thank you so much, Rupa. Is there any other question? Okay, I think there is not another question. Yes, Raihanajan.
Hi everyone, I hope all of you doing well. So I have a question too, and that it was in my mind. From your experience and your opinion, do you think that current climate leadership is driven more by political interest or by genuine moral responsibility?
Jan, probably you'd help me amplify her question. I didn't really get the context well.
Raihanajan, can you please repeat your question?
So sorry. So my question was about that climate leadership today more about political survival or moral courage. For example, do you think that current climate leadership is driven more by practical interest or by genuine moral responsibilities?
Okay, yeah,
Can you hear
I
me?
get your question.
Okay,
All
thanks.
right. Irma, your question is to say that is climate action motivated by political interest, or it is a sort of a moral obligation? And I hope that's the question. Yeah, I should confess that we indeed live in a multifaceted world, and so even the simplest of issues, what should be maybe say a moral question, what should be a scientific question, can end up being mingled as a political question, as a yeah, and it draws a lot of influences. So practically speaking, the major decisions that are made on climate change especially in climate funding, are now falling in the political domain. So those with political authority have massive impact on that kind of or space. But the obligation, the obligation is a moral obligation. Climate change is a moral obligation. In its clearest essence, it is a moral obligation. But the decision making has become very, very political. You know, all of COP, you listen to all of these conferences, you see big countries withdrawing. It's a very political kind of decision making kind of sphere right now. But that does not, it shouldn't necessitate or even justify one from pulling off, because it is still a moral obligation for each one of us. And we just hope that some sanity will come in the political systems along the way, that they will begin to have the moral lens and lower down the political intentions and that are vested on the climate action and decision making processes. Yeah, I think that's basically what I would say about that.
Thank you so much. I think there is no another question, and we are officially at the end of the session. I just want to say, on behalf of our team, I would like to thank you, our speaker, and all participants. And this brings us to the end of our today's session. And thank you so much for your active participation. And also, thank you so much for our speaker, Mr. Aksa. Thank you so much. It was really great session for today.
Right, thank you, and I wish you all probably a good night wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, and yeah, may God bless you and keep you safe. And as we do some action.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aksa. Thank you so much, Marjan. And thank you all fellows for joining in and having this